Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Fair M and we're going to get to hear from Lubeck today in Act 2, Scene 2. So some stuff that's going on. William the Conqueror thought he fell in love with Blanche after seeing her picture painted on Lubeck's shield, but then when he saw her in person he's like, eh, and she was like, eh, and he's like, no, he wants to court Mariana instead. But Mariana and Lubeck have a thing going on. And then over here on this side of things, we have everybody wanting to court Fair M. We have Manville, we have Mountney, we have Vallingford. They all want her hand, and Trotter in his own sort of clownish way. But she really only wants Manville, who's upset with her because she noticed that other men existed. And one of those other men was Mountney, who was trying to be all romantic with her, and she was just like, nope, I'm not having any of that. And he was at first disappointed by that, but then decided that this is actually a plot put together by Vallingford to make her scorn Mountney so that Vallingford can win her instead of Mountney winning her. So that was where Act 2, Scene 1 ended. Whoof! All of this stuff going on. And also keep in mind, as William the Conqueror has gone to try to court Blanche, and Lubeck has gone along with him, William is in disguise as Sir Robert of Windsor. So Act 2, Scene 2, we start out with Lubeck and Mariana, and she's like, you're hurt? How did you get hurt? And he's like, well, there was a little bit of a thing last night after that party. And she's like, why? What happened? Like, how did you end up hurt? Like, what started this whole fight? And he says, sweet lady, for thy sake. There was this last night 2 masks in one company, myself the foremost. The other strangers were, amongst the which, when the music began to sound the measures, each masker made choice of his lady, and one, more forward than the rest, stepped towards thee, which I perceiving, thrust him aside, and took thee myself. But this was taken in so ill part that at my coming out of the court gate, with justling together, it was my chance to be thrust into the arm. The doer thereof, because he was the original cause of the disorder at that inconvenient time, was presently committed, and is this morning sent for to answer the matter. And I think here he comes. So this monologue is purely exposition. He's describing what happened last night. There was apparently a big party, a masquerade ball. And when the music started up, he was wearing a mask, but of course everybody else is wearing masks too. And one of the other masked persons made a move for Mariana. But since Lubeck and Mariana have this thing going on, Lubeck shoved that guy aside, like, nope, she's mine, can't have her, and danced with her. But that guy was so offended at being shoved out of the way that as Lubeck went to leave the dance, they got into a little fight at the gates, and Lubeck got stabbed, a little bit stabbed, nothing like major. But because it looked like this guy just attacked Lubeck out of nowhere, because the police hadn't seen what happened inside the dance, that guy got arrested and is now gonna come and have to answer for his crimes. So at the very end of this speech, that person is brought in, and guess who it is? Haha, it's William the Conqueror in disguise as Sir Robert Windsor. And he and Lubeck are like, wait a second, that was you? And he's like, yeah, but how could you stab me? Well, I didn't know that it was you because you were wearing a mask, and I was wearing a mask too, and you went for my lady, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, fine, we'll just leave it as is. You got offended, sorry you got pushed out of the way, you got stabbed, sorry you got stabbed, but we're still friends, right? And they're like, yeah, we're still friends. But then they see that Blanche is coming in, and they're like, ooh, here comes Blanche, we gotta get out of here. And they tell Mariana to stay, and they leave, and Blanche comes in, and she's all full of fire. She hates Mariana for some reason that has yet to be disclosed to us. It probably has something to do with jealousy, but she comes in and she's like, I'm grieved by your existence, and I would not be offended if you left. And Mariana's like, what? What's going on? But then a messenger comes in, and Blanche is like, what do you want? And the messenger's like, I have this letter for Mariana. And Blanche is like, well, give it to me. And the messenger's like, nope, it's only supposed to go to Mariana. But Blanche snatches the letter, opens it, and starts reading it, and sees that it's a letter from Sir Robert Windsor to Mariana professing his love. Now remember, Blanche has a thing for Sir Robert of Windsor, who's actually William the Conqueror. So, and she gets very upset that he wants to court Mariana. So she rips up the letter and she storms off. And Mariana is like, let me piece this thing together and see if I can at least get some of the meaning out of this and see what it was. So she picks up the pieces of the letter and puts them back together and sees that it's signed by Robert of Windsor, who is actually William the Conqueror in disguise. He admits to who he is in the letter. And she's like, oh my goodness. Is this really William the Conqueror? And he's in love with me? Like, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna stick really close to Lubeck so that hopefully my relationship with him can stay as it is, and I'm gonna try to help support Blanche in her pursuit of this Robert of Windsor, who is actually William the Conqueror. So that's the end of Act 2, Scene 2. We just have everybody in love with the wrong person and one man in disguise and intercepted letters and all sorts of craziness. But it's only Act 2. We still got a ways to go before we get this whole thing sorted out. So come on back tomorrow for more. I'll see you then. Mwah.